we have breaking news from the men's basketball team, and the men's ice hockey team qualified for the NCAA tournament in the craziest way possible. How will these teams fare in the new circumstances? Bobcat Breakdown starts right now. Welcome inside Studio 125. I'm Ben Kane alongside two of Q30's wackiest in Will Fowler and Roberto Casillas. Boys, how are you doing?
I'm doing
wacky.
Fantastic. It's been
wacky.
Yeah, actually, I don't even know what we did to deserve that title, but here we are. Good weekend. Bracket completely busted. How about you?
My bracket was busted by game 4, not day 4. Day 4 would have been nice. Game 4, my bracket was absolutely destroyed.
Well, now you're about to get absolutely destroyed in this show, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
All right, let's get into the action. After a 3-2 overtime loss in the ECAC championship, the men's ice hockey team was still able to make it to the NCAA tournament with an automatic bid following a positive COVID case from St. Lawrence. With the loss to the Skating Saints in mind and their previous struggles in big games, do you think head coach Rand Pecknold has what it takes to win big games?
Are you ready for this one?
Go ahead.
Until he shows me that the team can do it, I'm going to have to go ahead and say no, because I don't think that you can formulate a case with factual evidence to support it that they can win those big games. Shall we go down through the history? 2021, last weekend, overtime loss to Colgate? No, to St. Lawrence in overtime, 3-2. Should have won that game, big-time favorites. 2020, Connecticut Ice Final, lost 4-1 to Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart. You're going to lose a final to Sacred Heart? 2019 ECAC hockey quarterfinals as the #1 seed with one of the best teams in a while. Lost, swept by Brown, and they were up in that second game to tie the series. They were up 2-0, and they allowed 4 goals in the third period to go home. They lost in the Frozen Four, the national championship in 2016. Yeah, maybe that North Dakota was a good enough team, but they still laid a goose egg, and they lost 5-1. And in 2013, against your biggest rival, again, in the Frozen Four, you give them their first national championship, lost 4-0 to Yale. Until this team starts winning in the playoffs, not big regular season games against #1 seeds in the country or the #1 ranked team in the country, not just maybe win one round in the tournament and then get bounced. They need to start winning the big games, the big finals. That's what I think they need to do, and I think that Rand Pecknold and this team in general haven't shown us that they have in the last couple of years. Would I be surprised? Can they do it? No, because I think that he's a great coach and they're a great team. But until it happens, I'm going to have to say no.
27 years at the helm of Quinnipiac, and you have handpicked 5 losses.
Those are one of the biggest games in the 27 years.
Find me any coach with an absolutely perfect resume. And there are a couple games that you listed there. The Yale loss is inexcusable, 100%, and the loss to St. Lawrence the other day is inexcusable. That series loss to Brown, you forget, without their captain, Chase Prisky. That loss to North Dakota. That loss to the captain, and you understand, and you remember how important he was to that team. The loss to North Dakota in the championship final, just as good, if not better, than that Quinnipiac team. You focus a lot on the negatives. By the way, I think that's absolutely insane, because this is one of the great coaches in NCAA ice hockey. One of the most winningest coaches of all time. Can he win a big game? Yeah, because he's won them before. Let's focus on the positives, okay? 2016 Whitelaw Cup champion, 2 appearances in the Frozen Four, 2 Frozen Four wins, actually, 7 wins in the national tournament. There is no coach out there who has an absolutely perfect resume, especially when they've been in charge for 27 years. Yes, you can single-handedly pick losses here and there, but I think we're a bit past the point with Rand Pecknold. Can he win a big game? There is an argument, and it's a very good argument that you made, that maybe the performances in postseason play in recent memory has not been as good as it should be. But can he win? Can he win a big game? Yes, he can win a big game because he's won big games before. He has taken this team to the national tournament 5 of the last 7 years. He's been at the helm. Before that, the 42 years prior, they were there once. Give the man his respect. Just because his resume is not perfect, it's far from it. But can he win a big game? Yeah, he can win a big game. That's ridiculous.
But the biggest games that he's played recently, it's all gone in a negative fashion. So I don't know. I think we're going to have to say, but I am really not sure that he can win those games. He's Mauricio Pochettino. It's the way I vote.
Oh, please.
100%.
Mauricio Pochettino. Different sport, Rob.
The Bobcats return to action on Saturday, March 27th against Minnesota State in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So, Will, how do you think they will do against Minnesota State?
You know, I actually think that this game is going to be a lot closer than some of our Q30 beat reporters and maybe the general public thinks. I do think it'll be a very close game because we've got two teams that defend well, two Richter finalists, Keith Petrozelli, of course, and Minnesota State's Dryden McKay. And the reason why I think it'll be closer is because Wyatt Bongiovanni is back. He's in the team. He is their best goal scorer, I think, when he's healthy. That being said, Minnesota State is absolutely white hot. They've won 11 of the last 13. They play in a significantly tougher conference, especially considering what Quinnipiac has gone through in the regular season. Only played 3 teams, for the most part, in their conference. Minnesota State has been through the gauntlet. And they do actually have a common opponent. It's Bowling Green. Minnesota State, across 2 games against Bowling Green, outscored them 9-1. Quinnipiac lost 8-3. So I like Minnesota State to win, but I do think it'll be closer than usual. I'm going to go 3-2.
Yeah, I have to agree with you in that they are going to lose this game. I don't think that Quinnipiac is in the best shape after an unexpected loss last weekend, and now they have to travel cross-country. For the first time, they're traveling in a long, long time. Who knows what the COVID regulation is going to be? It's going to be a weekend that they're not used to having. So, yeah, I don't think that in that side mentally they're 100% there yet. And it's just not a good matchup. I mean, Minnesota State has players from all around the roster you can see that contribute significantly to the game. And at the end of the day, I just don't see Quinnipiac being able to get there and outplaying this team. Could it happen? Yes, you mentioned Wyatt Bongiovanni, and obviously they have players that are difference makers. But I just don't think it's a good matchup, and Minnesota State is just loaded, and I think it's going to be around a 4-1 loss for Quinnipiac.
So now that we know your picks for the Quinnipiac game, let's talk about the rest of the region. Rob, who do you have going to the Frozen Four?
In this region, I have Minnesota. I have Minnesota beating Omaha, and I have then Minnesota beating Minnesota State to reach the Frozen Four. Listen, this is just... Talk about great teams. They're 23-6, and they won the Big Ten, a conference that has just some of the best teams in the country. They have one of the best goalies, in the whole entire country. I know Keith Petrozelli is also really good, but I think that if there's one goalie that might be a little better, is Jack LaFontaine, who's got a .936 save percentage, that's out of his mind. They got contributions from all over the roster. 7 players have more than 20 points, and they've gone through. They know how to suffer. They've tasted blood, and they've overcome that. They went to OT in both the quarterfinals and the semifinals of the Big Ten, and yeah, then they beat Wisconsin in the final. So I think that this is a tested team that knows how to play in big games, that knows how to handle adversity, and I think that they're going to win.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I actually like Minnesota State to win this region.
Really?
I think they're a little bit underseeded. They're a 2 seed. 2 seeds traditionally do well in this competition because 2 seeds and 1 seeds, especially, it's a 5th overall versus a 2nd or 3rd overall. It's a toss-up for me between Minnesota State and Minnesota. It should be a good game if that's the way that it lines up. But Minnesota State, I think they're a little bit better defensively, and that forward core is very, very talented as well. I'm a believer in defense wins championships, that old idiom, and that's why I ride the Minnesota State train. They've been a really good team in the nation, a bit underrated. The last 3 or 4 years, they've been really, really good. One of those lesser-known schools, should I say, in just the collegiate sports landscape as a whole. Minnesota's got the name. They're in the Big Ten. They're one of the biggest programs in the nation, but I like Minnesota State to advance.
Should be a great game, honestly.
Should be a good one. So you know what'll happen now is we got Quinnipiac, Omaha.
Yeah, Quinnipiac. Yeah,
that's how it'll happen since we said that.
Guys, I'm loving this energy. Let's see if we can keep it up in a new sport. The last time we saw Kevin Marphone in a Bobcats uniform, he led the nation in rebounds and was named to the All-MAC second team. After a year with Texas A&M, it was announced earlier this week that Marphone will be returning to the Quinnipiac. Will, how do you think he will fit back into this team?
Well, I think you have to look no further than their postseason game against Iona to understand how he'll fit back into this team. I'm sure both of you guys were watching that game, and Seth Pickney found himself in foul trouble, and Quinnipiac was playing Jacob Bergoni and J.J. Riggins at the 5. This guy at Quinnipiac was a superstar. He was one of the best mid-major bigs in the entire nation. Now he comes back, and I will say, disclaimer, don't expect that 13.7, 13.8 rebounds per game, leading the nation in rebounding output again. but he will immediately become one of the most important players in this Quinnipiac team, offensively and defensively. We know how good he is rebounding the ball. He can put the ball on the floor if he has to. I think we saw him make 1 or 2 threes in his last season with Quinnipiac. Defensively, just an incredible rim protector, knows how to protect the paint. And so we will see him play a massive, massive role, and we'll get into it a little bit later. I would have loved to see how he and Seth Pinckney can work together. Pinckney is 2 years now removed from the last season that he played with Kevin Marphone. Would have been fascinating, but when it comes to this question, just watch that playoff game. Quinnipiac lost by 24, and it's largely in part because they got their bigs into foul trouble, didn't have anybody to come in and take the load off Seth Pinckney's shoulders.
You made some excellent points there, and I'll make it short. He walks in and just, to put it simply, he's the best player on the team as soon as he gets to the building. He, especially with Seth Pinckney leaving, obviously Jacob Ragone is graduating, Kevin Marphone is going to be the #1 guy on the Quinnipiac men's basketball team. He had some good numbers also in Texas A&M this season. He started 8 of the 17 games he was in. He was second in the team in field goal percentage. He shot 46% from the field, second in blocks as well, and third in rebounding. So even though obviously Texas A&M didn't have its best season, and Kevin Marphone obviously wasn't the guy that he was here, he was facing much tougher competition. It's not like he failed whatsoever at Texas A&M. He was not bad. So yeah, I think that he's going to be really good as soon as he gets here. I think there's not really any issues at all.
In other Quinnipiac men's basketball news, just a few hours ago, sophomore center Seth Pinckney announced that he'll be teaming up with Tyree Pickern and Bobcat and entering the transfer portal. So guys, putting yourself in Baker Dunleavy's shoes, would you rather have Kevin Marphone for his last year or Seth Pinckney for possibly 3 more?
Well, let me say, first and foremost, the Seth Pinckney news shocked me, and maybe it shouldn't have.
100%.
I know there were rumblings, but I do think if Seth Pinckney stayed, he would have had a much more significant role than he did his freshman year when Kevin Marphone was here. I think that minute split would have been closer to 50-50. Now, that's not the question. Which would I rather have? Truthfully, and it depends a lot on the way this roster is built. I probably would have taken Seth Pinckney for 3 years. The way we saw him play last year, he's still a very raw prospect developing into a real superstar of a big, especially in mid-major basketball. I think he was on track to become one of the best bigs, if not the best big in the conference by his senior year, an elite shot blocker, one of the most efficient shooters in the entire nation. And this is a roster, realistically, that will not compete for the conference title unless they go on some unbelievable run in March. They are not going to be at the top of the field at the start of the season. It's a young team that in 1 or 2 years may be there. That's why I'd rather have the long-term investment in Seth Pinckney. But I will not be complaining watching that man, number 34, protect Quinnipiac's basket for the next 31, 32 games.
100%. I have to agree with you. It was a really tough question for me, honestly, because I honestly, firsthand when I read it, I was going to be like Kevin Marphone, because Kevin Marphone is a better player than Seth Pinckney is as of this moment. But there's the room with the upside for Seth Pinckney. And of course, you have 3 years over the one. And of course, you just mentioned it. They're not going to win the MAC next year, probably, even with Kevin Marphone here. So, yeah, I think we both stand pretty much on the same place. And, yeah, excited to see Marphone, but sad to see Pinckney go at the same time. It would have been awesome to have them together.
I don't know if I'm happy or upset that we're agreeing on so much, except for the first question. That was heated,
we need to
but
start.
We're on the same page.
All right, we're going to step aside for a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're talking all things spring sports.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction
And response time.
which can be really dangerous. here. It's here. Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why?
My.
Oh.
Thanks for sticking with us, and welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The Quinnipiac baseball team have gotten off to a slow start in the conference play, posting a 1-3 record this season after not having played a competitive game in over a year. Do you think it is too early to call them MAC favorites?
I think it's overwhelmingly
What are we
too
doing
early.
here? Who thought of this question? Producer room?
Yeah, 100%. Who allowed this question to be asked? They've played 4 games. There's 36 games left. They haven't even gone through the whole rotation. 2 of their pitchers look great. I mean, Brandon Garcia looked fantastic. He 8 punch outs. That was great. But 2 of their other starters looked a little bit more shaky, and their bullpen looked shaky. They have a really good lineup. They have one of the best, if not the best, lineup in the MAC. So I think that it's just way too early. We still don't know. The MAC is very. You never know what's going to happen in MAC baseball, and I think it's just way too early to tell.
Yeah, I'll yield to redundancy. I think it's far too early to call them favorites. At the same time, I think it's far too early to call them pretenders as well. I know that was kind of one way that we were discussing this question. The season is literally 10% over. And they haven't played a game in they played, 4 games in 2020. It's been a long time since they've played consistent baseball. Like you said, the pitching staff is very young, and that was maybe the shakiest part of the 4-game weekend series that they lost 3 out of 4 in. But John Delaney has plenty of time to figure it out. It's a very young staff, a lot of first years and sophomores, which didn't get much experience a year ago. So give him more than 3 days to figure out what his bullpen's going to look like. Fill out who's where. I think the back end of the bullpen looked a little bit shaky. Maybe he mixes and matches a little bit there. But like you said, 4 games down, 36 games to play. This team is still the defending MAC champion, and they did finish first in the preseason poll. Entirely too early, and I don't think we can make that jurisdiction until at least halfway through the season.
It's been a 1 weekend.
Yes.
In any other year, being halfway through a regular season would give you a good indication of how well a team is playing. However, this year, the women's soccer team is halfway through their own season, having only played 3 games and sit at a 1-1-1 record from those 3 games. What are your biggest surprises and disappointments thus far? Roberto, let's start with you.
All right, biggest surprise, I think that it's way too obvious. It has to be first-year Rebecca Cook. I mean, 2 times reigning defending MAC Rookie of the Week. 3 goals and 2 assists in 3 games. That's 5 goal contributions in her first 3 games as a college athlete. That's crazy. The impact that she's had on the team, she's physical. She has the ability to, with the ball on her feet. She knows how to use her body to put herself in positions to score. She knows how to put up her head and put up her head and pick out the pass. And she is only going to get better. And there's other newcomers that are also contributing a lot. Courtney Charcoal has a goal and an assist, and Paige LaBerge, the player that transferred from Florida State, Dave Clark told us today that she's only going to get better and she's going to start to get clinical on her finishing abilities. I think Rebecca Cook, however, she's just on another level. Her technical ability, I think she's going to be fun to watch for the 4 years she has here.
Yeah, Cook's been incredible. I'm going to go kind of similar to where you said there. I'm going to go to just their chance creation as a whole. They've been so good at getting into the attacking third and getting solid looks at goal. In their first 3 games, 33 shots on goal, and I know that stat isn't always indicative of actually how good their chances are, but that is a hefty number, 33 shots on goal in their first 3 games. 6 goals in those 3 games. This team is no stranger to creating chances. The back end of last season, they were unbelievable in that department as well, but this is just out of this world statistically good. I do like Cook. Cook's been incredible, 3 goals, 2 assists. Like you said, reminds me a bit of somebody who wears number 10 for Tottenham Hotspur, Harry Kane. That's the kind of output we're getting from her. Also, Fleur Cordiere is another first-year player from the Netherlands, impressing me quite a bit. She's getting herself into good positions, taking shots. She's been very good, but just the chance creation as a whole has been just unbelievable for Dave Clark's squad. 33 shots on target in 3 games.
And they keep the ball well. They know how to treat the ball well, which is something you don't really see in the MAC. Let's put it that way.
Dave Clark's squad has gone winless in their last 2 games and now face a tough opponent in the Monmouth Hawks, who have won 4 consecutive championships. So, Will, how do you think they will fare against Monmouth?
Yeah, you know what? If there's one team you're not confident with this team coming across, it's the Monmouth Hawks, the team that's absolutely run through the MAC for the last, take a pick, how many years. I mean, they've been so good in this conference. And we didn't get to it, but I think we also had a weakness in this team picked out. And for me, it was the way this team plays in the first half. They don't come out of the gate strong. Every single goal they've scored, all 6 of them, have come from behind. They go behind early. They went behind after 2 minutes against Manhattan today. This is not a Monmouth team you want to go behind early against, because they will stomp on your throat and keep their boot there for 90 minutes. Monmouth finished at the top of the preseason poll. This is not a team that Quinnipiac's beaten since 2015. I don't think it starts now, despite how good they have been. I do think that they end with a pretty good seed for the postseason tournament. I don't think it's by getting a win against Monmouth. I have 2-1 for the Hawks.
Yeah, we almost have the same score. I have 3-1 Monmouth. I also completely agree with you. It's not a good time for this match to happen. You said they haven't lost in a while. I'll tell you when the last time they lost. They haven't lost in the MAC since September 16, 2018, and it was their first game that season in the MAC against Ryder. I think that's pretty good.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah. Gio Conklin and Madison Perna are arguably the 2 best players in the entire conference, so I think that's going to be pretty tough task because they match up well in that midfield. They're going to contest for having the ball, which is what Quinnipiac does well. And when we're talking about the weaknesses that we didn't mention earlier, mine has to be the defensive side of the ball for Quinnipiac, or just defense in general. We don't know what's been happening with they've been switching goalies. Megan Phillips, I think the honeymoon phase with Megan Phillips is a little bit over, but she is still a great goalkeeper. But I think that we're starting to see just how important Kelly Lance and Mackenzie Tibble were last year for that team, because they've let up a lot of goals and not that many shots, and that tells you a lot. So yeah, I think it's going to be rough against Monmouth. I see Monmouth winning 3-1.
Ben, I know you're a soccer guy too. Do you have a prediction for this game, or are you just keeping silent?
I agree with Roberto. I think it'll be 3-1.
Yeah.
Should be a good game.
It should be.
It's time for us to debut a new segment on Bobcat Breakdown, Weather Forecasts. Each guy has been assigned 4 teams that are playing this spring, and they're going to give us a future forecast on how their season is going to go, followed by a debate. Will, you start us off.
Perfect. I believe the first team that I was given was men's soccer, so that's where I'll start. My weather forecast for men's soccer is 100% chance of thunder, but in a good way, because this team is going to make so much noise this year, I think, and I'll get into a little bit later for my final roar, just specifically what they're doing in the attacking phase. But they're so deep and so creative and fluid in the final third. They're really, really deep in midfield, and they've got a strong back line, headlined by some returners, but Luke Allen, the first-year center back, has been really, really impressive for me. Men's soccer, 100% chance of thunder, but with a positive connotation, because this is not going to be a fun team to play come the dog days of this season.
100% agree with you. I think I have to go with mine. My first one, I think, is field hockey. I'm going to say overcast. They're in a very difficult conference. I think if this team played in another conference, the whole narrative on this squad, on Beckham Main's squad, would be completely different. But I have them overcast. They already lost to Villanova. They have UConn come in a couple days, which is obviously going to be very, very difficult. Providence, not looking good. Izzy Agricola, beat reporter, I told her, I said overcast, and she was like, that's a perfect. So I'm pretty confident in my weather. Women's soccer. It's sunny, but it's still pretty cold, the way we've had the weather here in the past few weeks.
Welcome to Hamden.
Exactly. There's a very good team. They play good football. Especially, I think they grew a lot last year, and they just took a next step from the first 3 games I've seen them this year. They have some really good players, especially in the attacking third. Dave Clark said that they're going to win a lot of games if they score a lot, so I think that's what's going to happen. But there's still some concerns. Men's Lasks. I have no snowstorm for men's lacrosse. COVID shut down a week ago, canceled games. Not great last year. In the 6 games they played, went 0-6. They played 1 game this year, they're 0-1. They haven't really played in 2 years, and Will Abbott and Jake Tomsick are going to have to carry that sled during the winter storm. Softball is rainy and cold. It's just not a great team, unfortunately. They're going to fight to be competitive in the MAC, and they'll probably end up being one of the bottom three teams, unfortunately.
I'll blow through my last three. Women's lacks gray skies in the forecast. I don't think there's much optimism for this team this season. They do have a bright future, but where they are right now, they finished near the bottom of the preseason poll. They have had 3 games scheduled. 2 of them were postponed. The one they did play was a 13-6 loss. Volleyball, sun and rainbows, and that's because the dog day, the storms are behind them. Kyle Robinson has this program turned around, finished second in the preseason poll. So far 500, but this should be a really, really good team.
It's going to be a fun team to
come the conference tournament. Absolutely. For baseball, temporary rain, but clear skies ahead. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Rough start to the season, 1-3 in their first weekend series, but they will be just fine. Give this team time. Let John Delaney figure out his squad and how he wants to use it. Rain temporarily, but nothing but sunshine come April and May.
Yeah, getting ready for the summer.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time for our last break of the night, but don't go far. We recap the QBSN Game of the Week and give our final roars.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spot on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. It's finally that time of the night. Final roars. Will, take it away.
You would have been forgiven if you thought the men's soccer team's attack would regress this season after the departure of Eamon Whalen. After all, Whalen was one of the most prolific strikers in the history of the program, and strikers with his finishing quality don't just grow on trees. So instead of going back to that same metaphorical tree that DaCosta found Whalen from, he decided to just plant a new one. DaCosta has reinvented the way this team plays in attack, and that much is obvious just in the first 2 games of its season. Instead of having one center forward burden most or all of the goal-scoring responsibility, this team equally uses 4 players in attack, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, but together they create a free-flowing, fluid, and most of all, unpredictable attack. Tomas Vikula returns as the reigning MAC Rookie of the Year, and he'll score his goals, but he can also drift wide and hold up play in midfield. Brog Austin is a unique and pacey, creative wing player who can make defenders mix. Alexander Shikshida is a bit more physical and more direct with the ball, and David Bercedo is an all-around playmaker in and out of possession with seemingly endless stamina. In fact, when I asked DaCosta about it on Sunday, he said he thinks this year Quinnipiac's attack will be better than it was a season ago, and that is a scary, scary thought for the other 10 teams competing in the MAC.
Sticking with men's soccer, Paulo Suarez had only played 41 minutes in 894 days for the Quinnipiac men's soccer team before the start of the season last Thursday. Suarez could only watch from the sidelines as 2 of the teams that he was part of lost in dramatic fashion in back-to-back years during deep MAC championship runs. An injury paused his Quinnipiac career, and even though he was fit to play in the 2019 semifinals, Coach Eric DaCosta confessed that they decided to keep him on the sidelines to protect him from losing a year of eligibility. Fast forward to 2021, and Quinnipiac's number 10 is all the way back. Let's not forget, Suarez was a rookie, on the MAC All-Rookie team in 2017 and has played for the Cape Verde national team. This guy's a quality player. He's been the best player on the field for Quinnipiac's first 2 wins of the season. This is a team that has difference makers all over the field, and it will only get better once Simon Hillinger is back in the mix. Patience is key for every college athlete that goes through injuries, but it certainly appears that for Paulo Suarez, patience has paid off. The Quinnipiac men's soccer team looks poised to make yet another deep playoff run. Only this time, number 10 won't be watching from the sidelines. He'll be all over the field.
Being a first-year student, I'm only able to imagine what college is like. My time spent in the Student Center is done through socially distanced with my friends, and I can only go to some of my classes once a week because they are hybrid style. This weekend, however, I felt that it was a bit different to just see a glimpse of what college was like. I walked out my door at Ledges and saw the grass field next to the baseball field filled with students. I also attended the soccer game, and while I have experiences with not many people being at a soccer game, the stadium was pretty occupied with students cheering on their friends and rooting for a Bobcat win. While I know it's going to take a long time for things to resume to normal, it was really nice to just see a glimpse of what college life is like at Quinnipiac. That's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to check us out online at Q30TV and theqbsn.com. And you can find us on social media at Q30TV and at QBSN. You can also find us on the Q30TV app available for download. For Will, Roberto, and everyone behind the scenes, I'm Ben Kane. Have a good night.